Welcome to the Hazard Class Podcast. This is the podcast where I ask my stupid questions to some of the smartest people in and around the world of emergency response. This episode is going to be a little bit different. This is just me. So, as some of you know, I just got back from a stay at the IAFF Center of Excellence. And, I've been gone for a little over a month, and I think it's worth talking about. So that's what we're going to get into today. So, if I'm being very frank, I'm not exactly sure what I plan to talk about right now. I just do feel the need to tell my story, and in that, hopefully, normalize it, and in that, hopefully, inspire someone that might need the help to go get it, or at the very least, make this not a taboo subject to talk about, because for many of us, I think it is, and unfortunately, I think it causes some really negative side effects in the fire service. And so I think that owning up to the fact that sometimes we're not doing okay is critical. And so I'll tell my story. And, I'm interested to hear other people's stories. That's been one of the most rewarding parts through this process, has been talking to people, especially at the Center of Excellence, um, hearing stories and, really normalizing a lot of this. And, I think that a lot of these conversations that seem hard are more common than we think, or at least maybe not the conversations, but the feelings behind the conversations that I've been fortunate to have a lot lately. So I have a hard time believing that these feelings are unique to just the people I've been spending time with in the last, a little over a month. I think that a lot of people feel them, and a lot of people feel like they don't have the means to either express themselves or the means to be okay with being vulnerable and saying they're not okay. And so, that's the hope. Um, I It pains me to know that there's probably a lot of people out there that could use the help, but for whatever reason, stigma or pride, um, refuse to ask for it. So I'll tell my story, I guess. And, for the sake of making this not an extremely long podcast, I'm going to skip through a lot, and I'm going to just kind of, express the emotions more so than necessarily the details. Um, but I am more than happy to share everything. I just, for the sake of time, uh, I don't know how much you really care to hear everything, but I do think that the high points are important. So why don't I'm just gonna do this, and I'm sorry for you're gonna have to bear with me as I kind of tell this. Let's start backwards. So on June 18th, I checked into the IAFF Center of Excellence. Um, it's a mental health and substance abuse rehabilitation facility in Maryland that specializes in dealing with firefighters. And I checked in on the 18th, and it was one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. I was helped by my union to get connected with it. The city where I work, has been nothing but unbelievable through this process. I know sometimes people have complaints about their administrations and the cities they work for and whatnot. But in full disclosure, my where I'm fortunate to work has been unbelievable through this. Super supportive, very accommodating, and I feel very fortunate to work where I work. Um, that said, in the days that led up to my decision, I was low. I felt like I was stuck in a cycle of self-hatred and self-loathing, and that I just couldn't escape. I I wanted desperately to be a person that I would admire, and I just couldn't seem to be there. Um, I wanted to be kind, and I wanted to be compassionate and loving and transparent, and trustworthy and loyal and all these things, but I just never could do it. And I made so many mistakes. I have so many regrets. And I just felt unlovable and unforgivable, and unworthy of the support system that I have. And truthfully had, right? I had it all along. But I had some barriers that didn't allow me to see it for what it was. And so, in the days that led up to my decision to go to the Center of Excellence, I really didn't want to live. And that sucks to say. I have so much to live for, and I just felt like a disappointment to everyone. Desperately for years, I thought that I could outwork my depression. I thought that I could outpace my compulsions. And I thought that if I stayed busy enough and I supplied service to people, if I could become great at things, then I would feel good. And I never did. At first it was, I want to get on a career department, right? Not a career department, but the career department that I work for now. That was it. Oh, maybe if I get on there, I'll feel better. I didn't. And then I was, oh, I want to get into, the squad program, or I want to get into like special operations. Um, and I got there and I didn't feel better. And I wanted to teach and I wanted to train and I wanted to become very proficient in my job. And I did all those things and I just never felt better. Sadly, I have so much in my life to be fortunate for. Everything that I've ever wanted to have or achieve, I have. I'm married to my best friend. I have two lovely kids. We have a beautiful home. I have my dream job. And I just wasn't happy. And the reality was it had nothing to do with the outside. It had everything to do with the inside of me. See, I had some pretty traumatic events happen in my childhood and in my teens. Um, I was bullied pretty badly in high school. Um, and I just felt like I was unwanted. I felt like no matter what I did, I could never achieve, you know, I could never achieve being accepted into a group that I wish to be a part of. Um, Even my friends, I didn't believe that they actually liked me. I thought that there was an ulterior motive to everyone all the time. I remember specifically one of my partners a couple years ago on the job, you know, telling me that everyone liked me. And I was like, no, they don't, right? They're just pretending and I'm not actually wanted there. And he just couldn't understand how I could feel so confused. And the truth is I haven't opened up with everything that, you know, came together to make me this way. And it's hard to have behaviors and tendencies and thoughts and feelings and all these things that are rooted in trauma and experience that you're not willing to share. And so then you're stuck just being this person that you don't want to be, but you are. And that sucks. And you feel trapped in it and stuck to it. And for years and years, I desperately wanted to be better. Um, and I tried so hard to love myself and to accept the good things in my life for what they were. I couldn't do it. And so I worked myself to death, right? You know, maybe if I achieve this or that, then I'll feel better. And I didn't. But it was always looking forward, never being content in the moment because this moment was always bad. And I knew this moment was bad, but maybe if I did enough, the next moment could be good. And it never worked. You know, I just felt like I was this person walking around wearing a mask. And I'm sure to the people that know me, these kind of sentiments are bizarre because I coped really well for the most part. I mean, from the outside looking in, I most people close to me wouldn't have any clue that I was struggling as much as I was. And when I went to go to the COE, I talked to my therapist, who I've been going to just about weekly therapy for 5 years now or so. And I talked to my therapist and I said, Mike, um, am I going to show up there and they're going to be like, what are you doing here? You don't qualify. You know, you got to have this or this or this wrong with you. And he laughed at me and he said, you qualify. Trust me. So, um, comes to find out, it was the best place for me to go. And all my fears were um, relieved because I found a place where I felt really comfortable. Um, and so I don't want this whole podcast to be doom and gloom, um, talking about my struggles. The reality is now, after 39 days at the Center of Excellence, I feel incredible. I feel like it gave me my life. I wish I could say back. I wish I could say gave me my life back, but it really feels like it gave me my life because as long as I can remember, I don't remember feeling good. Um, and boy, does getting to know people with struggles and sharing and having these deep conversations open your eyes to perspectives. Um, for a long time, I felt like nobody had it harder than me. And man, was I wrong. I have two loving parents, amazing people. Um, I'm so fortunate for them. And while I had problems, um, man, am I lucky to have them. And I have my siblings, um, you know, I'm so lucky to have this family unit that I had. And it made it possible to go through what I went through and come out only as damaged as I was. And so, man, am I grateful for them. And, you know, the Center of Excellence puts you in an environment where it's okay to not be okay. And everyone agrees about that. From the moment you step foot on the ground, it's like a hug. I don't even know how to describe it quite. From the second you step out of the van, like everyone's coming up to you saying, "Hey, how are you? I'm so and so. And what's your name? Where are you from? How can we help you? Let's give you a tour. Let's like, I mean, it's overwhelming kindness immediately." Um, and that goes on. You are the one being greeted, and before you know it, you're the one doing the greeting. And um, this environment just tees you up to be comfortable. And when you're comfortable, you can be vulnerable. And when you're vulnerable, you can heal. And, you know, I can't thank the staff at the Center of Excellence enough. Um, they're doing unbelievable things there for people. I mean, one of the most rewarding things about my time there was watching people come through the program. You know, there's one component which is me, right? Me getting the healing that I needed. But this other thing is watching this conveyor belt of people that are broken down become renewed through the process that they have there. And it's just so gratifying to watch. And you just are filled with this hope as you watch over and over again these people that are broken down just being renewed and renewed and renewed. And you watch from the trembling legs the first day to the charismatic person, weeks later, sometimes days later. um and so that this program really, it works. And so, like, talking to anyone that wonders if it's worthwhile, I will tell you unequivocally it is worthwhile. It's worthwhile to prioritize your mental health. It's worthwhile to dig deep and have hard conversations and talk about the things you don't want to talk about. It's worthwhile um, admitting that you're not okay. I'll go back and talk a little bit more. I didn't know if I was going to talk about this, but I think I should. So, one of the big catalysts for me going um, to the Center of Excellence was this dissidence between who other people thought I was and who I felt like I was. And I touched on that a little bit earlier, that people would be surprised to see me go ask for help. And so, one of the hardest things, so a couple years ago, what was it? Well, a year and a half ago now, I was involved with a fire in which I um, made a couple rescues. Um, And I subsequently won a couple of awards for it. And, you know, you're not into the job for the awards, right? Is it nice to be recognized? Yeah, but sure, it's a team sport, right? It's hard to um, accept an award when you're just a cog in a wheel. Um, so that was a component of it. But the biggest one was I knew who I was and I knew how I felt. And then you go from place to place, event to event, on the newspaper, in the newspaper, on the TV, um, from this sporting event to that sporting event, stand and wave and say thank you for this award. And while it is a great honor, me, as I was in this space where I felt bad, so bad, to have everyone in the world telling me how great I am just spun me deeper and deeper and deeper into that depression. Um, and it was no fault of anyone's own. It's a great honor. Um, I feel tremendously blessed to um, have been able to accomplish what we accomplished at that fire. And I feel tremendously blessed to work for a fire department that can accomplish those sorts of things. And I've said from the very beginning that while I am the one that, you know, gets the award on paper, like it's not an award for me, it's an award for everyone that was there. But man, when you don't feel the way that everyone else is telling you should feel, it's a really hard place to be. And so I just kept feeling worse and worse and worse. And I just didn't know how to change. I didn't know how to feel better. And eventually it just got to the point of needing help. And in no way do I want to make this seem like I'm not grateful for the process. I feel excuse me, I feel tremendously grateful for the way that people have treated me because of this. Um, and there's still, another award to come. Um, and the reality is that I'm in a headspace now that I'm happy to be able to have some portion of this process to finally tie a bow on this, where I'm in a headspace where I can accept it and not feel bad. Um, Once again, it's not an award for me, it's an award for Mason, it's an award for everyone else that was at the fire. Um, but after all this work, uh, I'm finally in a position where, I don't hate myself, and I'm happy to be alive, and I'm happy to be um here. And the reality is I love the fire service. Fire service was the first thing in my life that I ever felt good at. I was always like the backup quarterback and the last guy picked, that kind of thing. That was my whole life. Um, I've always been okay at things, but I've never been great. And in the fire service, things clicked, and I finally had the opportunity to be good at something. And for a guy that didn't feel good about much, all of a sudden feeling good about going to work made me obsessive. And so that's how you lead to always working, always training, always traveling, always teaching, whatever the thing is, it consume me. But the reality is that that night in January, um, the night of the fire, all that time I spent training and preparing and being obsessive mattered. I remember telling my wife after, even if I never make a grab again, all the time was worth it. And so, in a world of declining fires and a reluctance to train, it would seem, you know, I feel very fortunate that in the years prior to that fire, I was obsessive. And I'm at peace with it now. And I know the end result of that fire wasn't ideal, but I'm at peace with the idea that we did everything that we could. And I'm extremely proud of the men and women that were there to do everything that they could. And finally, after all this time, I can take relationships for what they are. I can recognize the support system in my life. I can recognize the love um, that I have and the worth that I have and the value I have without even supplying anything to anyone. But for a long time, I couldn't. So to kind of wrap this thing up, um, please be vulnerable. And if you're hurting, talk to someone. You know, there was this thing in my life that I was dead set on the idea that secrets were going to keep me safe. Because if anyone knew who I was and what I did and all these things about myself, that was going to destroy me. And the reality is that our secrets don't keep us safe. Our secrets keep us sick. So we have to let it out. A good friend of mine that I made at the COE said it best. Scream that shit from the rooftops. You got to get it out. You got to talk to someone. And if you need to make the arrangements and go, you need to, right? Like one of the things they'll say at the COE is that nobody shows up there that doesn't need to be there. Because if you got to the point where you were willing to pick up the heavy phone, right? That phone to make that call is so heavy because it's so hard to finally admit it. But my prayer after this is that, you know, through this work of, normalizing some of these things, that phone can get a little bit lighter and the help can get a little bit more accessible because people can admit that they need help. And it doesn't mean that life's crashing down. It just means that um, you're not doing okay. And the reality is that even if you're not doing okay, that's not the end of the story. Like brighter days are ahead. You can get through it. You can be resilient. So, if you're hurting, tell someone. If you're hiding your secrets, if you're hiding your emotions, if you're hiding the way you're living, talk to someone, ask for help, and you'll find it. And in it, you'll find a life worth living and peace that you couldn't even possibly understand. I It's hard to even describe the way I feel now. I didn't even think was an attainable emotion, and I feel so fortunate that I got here. And it's not without the help of the clinicians at the COE. It's not without the help of the medical doctors at the COE. It's not without the help of my peers. Um, because man, did I meet some wonderful people, and I'm hoping to have a lot of them on the podcast and talk. Because I think raising awareness and normalizing all these conversations is so important. Um, well, I'm gonna get out of here. I really thank you for bearing with this kind of rambling nonsense. I'm sure there'll be more storytelling in the future. Um, but be good to yourself. Be good to other people. Love yourself. Love everyone else too. Right? It's not that hard. You can do it.